Hello all and welcome in to WHF Tier 3 Round 10. You're joined by me, WHF Faro, for the third final race of this season, and in this third final race it could potentially be a championship winning one for NMX James and Ferrari, as we're here in COTA for what is to be an exciting one. Lil Majin is the first driver out to set a lap time in the Mercedes, but NMX James could be looking for his first championship here in WHF and wrap it up with potentially 2 rounds to go. So we will keep an eye on whether or not he can do that, as Lil Majin down into the heavy braking zone of turn 12. Gets the car rotated well. And in through the middle sector. Texas has always been a very competitive track here in WHF. Lovely to see the battles over the years started in memory of SSR Bubbly, and has always featured on the calendar, as Lil Majin makes a big mistake through turn 19, but has always featured on the WHF calendar in one tier or another. Majin crosses the line, it will be a... I actually didn't come up the Delta because I don't have the lap data, but invalidates on his run. We've got Northie, who's quickest. Creamy Flaps with a 34.4. Next around, Sci-Fi Mega Hype is invalid. In behind him is MB in the Haas, and he's going to cross the line and go quickest with a 33.9. And following him is going to be Dobo. And Dobo in... Or that's actually Ansu with a 33.8. Ansu at his best qualifying last time out in Mexico, but unfortunately the race just didn't go his way out of... on lap 1, again down the order after some drama with other drivers, and hopefully Ansu can finally avoid some drama here. Meanwhile, Nuki Lad, who did win in Brazil, reserving in the Haas today, can be looking for a good result here, as we're very close up at the top, separated by under 2 tenths. It's Ansu, MB, Ashton and Nuki Lad, as DZ Racer 33.4, and DZ Racer won last time out in Tier 2 in Imola. So DZ Racer definitely going to be the driver to watch here today, although I don't believe DZ Racer has any wins in Tier 2 as of yet. If I double check the standings, maybe he has one. Let me double check. Let's see here. I actually do have the standings up here. Should be able to see it, as Lil Pratt maybe has one win. Yeah, has a win in Australia, if I'm not mistaken, but has been unlucky throughout this season to not score more wins. Has been very quick, has in qualifying, but El Prat and MQK have wins, along with Dobo, Nuki Boy and James, who's got 5 wins this season, and potentially looking for his 6th and potentially title sealing championship run here. As who else do we have out in a lap? Fuse invalid, Dobo invalid. Ash just completed a lap with a 34.2. Is anyone else here out pushing? It's Ansu on another lap, and half a tenth to the good is the Red Bull driver. I wonder, is DZ Racer pushing? No, he's on an in lap, but surprising to see someone pushing and improving here, despite already setting a decent lap time in Ansu. Half a tenth to the good out of Sector 1, and as he exits Sector 2, we'll see where his delta will be on this lap, but dumping the battery down the back straight, heavy braking zone into turn 12, as he'll get it rotated, rear end steps out on the Red Bull, but able to catch it well, and he's almost a tenth to the good, and this would be a very good improvement from Ansu, as Real Ashton Army retires in the pit lane, I believe. Not quite sure why, maybe just happy with his lap time. As Ansu now round the final sector, this long right-hander. And can he get a much better run through turn 19? And he does just that as he heads through turn 20. Can he get the car rotated? DRS enabled up to the line, does improve by half a tenth. And that is a 33.8 for Ansu. And that's a strong enough lap for him to hold on to until later on. Meanwhile, NMX James has an opportunity to seal the title here today. Leads the championship by 59 points, and if he can outscore Raheem today, that would seal the title. He also, Raheem would need to essentially outscore him by a good 7 or so points at least, as Nuki Lad up to P2 with a 33.7. As Ashton Army in this chat says, stop the count. Well, we'll see what he can do as NMX James 33.2. That is the lap to beat as Page has left the session, but James with the quickest lap so far, and I think James is actually yet to score any pole positions this season, but I'm sure he'll be happy even if he leaves it this late to score one, as Raheem is going to be the next closest driver to James to try and catch him, but Raheem unfortunately just hasn't had the momentum that he had early in the season. The momentum seems to have fallen away from PLG Raheem, and this second half of the season it's just not been the ideal run at all for Raheem, and that has really allowed James to comfortably pull a gap, and in this race he could end up with his first WHF championship. Meanwhile, Creamy Flaps on a run in the Aston Martin, 3/10 of the good out of sector 1, and could he have a big improvement here as he exits turn 11. Legend on the chat says go on Northy. Northy currently sitting P10, as I wonder is Lil Majin on a lap. Yeah, Lil Majin on a lap yet to set a flyer, but this is his opportunity here as he's following the Aston Martin driver. A few also looking for pole position here is the Aston Martin driver, as NMX James I believe coming into the pit lane along with DZ Racer just starting a lap. He wants to improve to try and stick it on pole here. Lil Majin now round the final corner. Where can the Mercedes go, as he's going to cross the line, go quickest with a 33.0. Absolutely brilliant lap time there from the Mercedes, as Creamy Flaps now 7/10 the good. This would be a massive improvement for the Aston Martin driver, as he has a little wobble out of the final corner and crosses the line and improves by almost a full second with a 33.5, and that's a splendid time from Creamy Flaps. A reminder, Creamy Flaps only made his debut in WHF a couple races ago, and he's completely new to wheel, I believe. So considering how quick he's getting a hold of things, as MB with a 33.6 into P5. Dobo was about to start a lap, but he had a massive tank slapper out of the final corner, so that's going to really hamper his attempted pole here. Meanwhile, Few, another one of the potential favourites for pole position here in the Aston Martin. And where can Few go in the Aston Martin here? As round the final sector, we're going long right-hander. And a tricky turn in for turn 19, but he nails it there. As DZ Racer does improve just shy of Lil Majin, but Few with a 32.650 monster lap time there from the Aston Martin driver, and over 3/10 clear of Lil Majin. That's a beautiful lap by the Aston. Meanwhile, Dobo, I'm sure, wants to improve here, but I don't know how quick this lap is going to be, considering how he made a big mistake opening the lap. But we'll keep an eye on this banker, and maybe Dobo can use this banker as he makes a big error at a turn 19, leaves the track. I'm sure he's still going to take this lap, but I don't imagine it's going to be one of the quicker ones as he crosses the line. It's a 34.2, 22-1 as let me try that again. Meanwhile, Ash on a lap here as well in the Mercedes. Ollie B in the chat says maybe James can finally get a pole this season. Or 5 wins in this tier and no pole. He has 5 wins already and no pole, so maybe he's looking for a 6th win or maybe a pole position finally. But it looks like Few is the man to beat at this stage in qualifying. But NMX James always the most consistent driver this season, and that is why he is not far away from the championship. Billy and Penguin is out of the battle for the championship. It is literally just James and Raheem is 59 points back here and currently down in P10. Raheem's going to need a big turnaround here because he needs to outscore NMX James by, I believe, at least 6 points to keep it going into the penultimate round of the season next time out. As Ash invalid, so we'll need to potentially go again. Ansu on a lap now, currently with that 33.8 as he rounds the final corner. Big wobble from Ansu, crosses the line. It's a 33.515 from Ansu into P5 as NMX James now 700ths to the good goes. The Ferrari driver needs even more time out of this final sector if he does want to improve on this lap. And James now rounding the final corner up to the line. Does improve to P2. Gets ahead of Majin and DZ Racer, but there's still a gulf to Few. No one seems to be anywhere close. Sci-Fi and Page now on outlaps. But as things stand, it looks like a lot of drivers there aren't even close. As Sci-Fi about to start a lap here. Page as well. Raheem, Creamy Flaps, DZ Racer out on a lap. NMX James, though, most likely will not get another chance to improve here. So Lil Maj and DZ Racer have a chance at pole, but they've got to improve by a lot of time to try and catch Few here, currently with a 32.650. But following Sci-Fi and the Alpine on this lap, currently yet to set a lap time along with RJ and Page. Certainly they'd want to set a lap, although sometimes if you don't set a lap, you can avoid all the carnage into turn 1 and just stay behind and wait to pick your moments. But I'm sure Sci-Fi and Page will definitely want to set a lap. I don't believe RJ's even left the box yet to attempt a lap. But Sci-Fi and the Alpine will be next to round. And if we have a quick look at the standing, Sci-Fi currently P11 in the championship on 50 points, a point ahead of Northy, a point behind Abe, who is missing out today. So Sci-Fi has an opportunity to move up in the championship. RJ in P9 on 53. MQK not here on 58. So a lot of drivers here could improve, especially Few on 47 points. If he were to get a win and convert like he currently is sitting in pole, that could move him all the way up to P8 very comfortably. A Sci-Fi up to P5 on his first lap. That's a beautiful improvement there from the Alpine, considering he didn't have a lap time on the board. Up to P5. I'm sure he'll take that as Page goes very deep into turn 12. That's going to really mess up our lap. And now Page is really struggling. I think just getting out of the way now. Some drivers here about to start their laps. Meanwhile, we've got Raheem and Dubu on laps. Dubu just about to start his. Nicky Ladd starting his. Yeah, a couple of drivers out there starting laps. I do believe Raheem is the next around. And it's going to be a big one. Raheem's going to improve by a second on this lap in order to catch his championship rival. But Raheem's pace has just unfortunately not been the same as it was earlier in the season. And the McLaren driver rounding the final corner is DZ Racer with a 32.2. We forgot about DZ Racer. I didn't even realise he was on a lap yet, as Raheem's made a mistake and will start at base P11. I didn't even realise DZ Racer was on a lap. And there you are, goes quickest with a 32.2. Now Few needs to pull one out of the bag if he wants pole here. Meanwhile, Northey currently P14. Can he have a better run than Paige, who really struggled on her lap? As Northey currently P14 and needs some big improvement here, but invalidates exiting turn 18. Next around we have Dobo, but he's invalid. Another one of the championship contenders, Nuki Lad, didn't get to set his final run. Meanwhile, MB on a lap here, currently P8 as it stands. But where can MB go as the Haas driver rounds the final corner? Up to the line he goes and crosses the line up to P3 with a 32.9. Massive improvement there. Ansu crossing the line. Where can Ansu go? No improvement for Ansu. Is it Few next? It is Few. Improving by almost 2/10, but needs even more time if he wants to catch DZ Racer. Will it be another pole for DZ Racer? It is! 2.5 improvement for Few as Lil Majin improves by a lot of time up to P3. NMX James stays P5. Ash up to P6. But DZ Racer, we weren't even really paying attention to his lap, and he ended up on pole position. Few did improve, but could not snatch pole as DZ Racer spins in the pit lane. Don't get disqualified! Don't get disqualified! Don't get disqualified! Please do not get disqualified! Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. Anyway, he didn't get disqualified, but hey ho. There you have a DZ Racer on pole, and that is a very Lucas Blakely looking Algerian, as DZ Racer yet again on pole position ahead of Few, Lil Majin, MB, James, Ash, Saifa, Mega Hype, Ansu, Creamy Flaps, Nuki, Ashton and Raheem. And this is your reminder, NMX James is in P5, which, I mean, he would like to win the race, but here's the thing, he doesn't even need to win it, he just needs to outscore Raheem, and that is the title sealed, signed, sealed and delivered. So Raheem needs to outscore James by around 6 points or so to keep it going into round, let me tell the drivers when they're ready up. But Raheem needs to outscore James by a decent amount if he wants to keep it going until the next round. So I think James is in a very comfortable position here. Doesn't really need to take much risks in this race, although only one race this season has James actually finished off the podium. That was back in Hungary. And will we see the same here starting from P5 in Texas? But no matter where James qualifies, it always seems like he works his way up and cuts his way through the pack. So James certainly going to be the driver to watch here. But it'll be DZ Racer on pole, ahead of Few, then Lil Majin. And we're yet to see a very strong result here this season from Lil Majin. Maybe this is the opportunity we see him on the podium. I wonder, did he have a podium last time out? Let me double check. Yes, Lil Majin did get on the podium last time out in Mexico. I think that was his best result of the season. And in the standings, if we have a quick look at where Lil Majin is, he is P6, trying to catch Dobo, but he's a good 19 points behind Dobo as things stand, but you never know. Could catch him, or is it 12? I think it's 12. It's 12 points behind Dobo. as Ash is 3 points behind Billy, and Billy not being here today, Ash just realistically needs to score some points, and he will move up to P3 in the championship. And Ash could even try and challenge for Raheem by the end of the season if Raheem continues his form where he's been really, really struggling the second half of the season. Meanwhile, DZ Racer, starting from pole, can move ahead a little Majin, or even Dobo as well. And can DZ Racer get his second win of the season? We'll have to wait and see. MQK missing out here. That will open the door to RJ and Sci-Fi, Northy, Few, Ansu, all potentially an opportunity for them to move up. Even Nuki Boy, the reserve as well, currently in P16, but a win for Nuki Boy could move him all the way up into P8. There's a very close midfield here in WHF. However, Nuki Boy did not have the best qualifying. MB is carrying the Haas team for today. But as you can hear the chimes counting down here in round 10, the third final round of the season, it's an opportunity for NMX Games to seal the title, as it will have the 5 red lights on here in Texas. On the right as DZ Racer leads us up into turn 1. Up the hill he goes, Few on the inside. Not close enough to go for a move on the V-car, but down the inside goes a Red Bull of Ansu, spins off the wall, and that's Ansu out of turn 1. What has happened, Ansu? Immediate VSC, and I'm not quite sure what's happened there, Ansu, at all. NMX James gets through, but that was very weird desync from a lot of the pack there. Ansu out at turn 1, and a safety car here on lap 1. I'm sure DZ Racer will take that to survive turn 1, but not quite sure what happened there with Ansu. He seemed to ghost through a couple of cars and then reappeared in the middle of them and got spun out. Who is this hurt? I'm not quite sure. I think Ash has been the most hurt by this. Ash down 7 positions, Ashton down 3, Majin down 1, MB down 1, and NMX James up 2, as he always seems to avoid the drama and keeping his nose clean here in Texas. Meanwhile, Majin starting the hard tyres along with Raheem. RJ on the softs. Ansu was on the soft tyres, but ended up in the wall, exiting turn 1. Bit of a heartbreak for Ansu, as Ollie Bean says, if he got pulled out of disqualification, it would be super funny. It's not the first time we've seen DZ Racer get disqualified this season, so I'm glad he escaped without getting it. As Ollie Bean says, he thinks Ansu heard the George Russell theme, and he might have just done, but it's a good thing that he didn't. He didn't really take that many people out, I don't believe. It just seemed like he ghosted through everyone, which is very strange, but hey-ho. Anyway, safety car here in lap 1. Is anyone going to try and risk coming into the box? For me, I wouldn't unless I was RJ, really. RJ made him some damage. He doesn't. But the soft tyres you never really want to be on. Ashton's into the box as Ash stays out. So, yeah, RJ, ooh, a little deep, but makes it round. I would... If you're at the back, you want to maybe try something different. Ashton going to go to the hards, potentially. Another set of mediums for Ashton. RJ on the mediums, and I just think that's the correct tyre to be on. You don't want to be on the softs ever, really. And RJ, the game has kind of forced him to make the right decision, because soft tyres at COTA just do not work at all. But yeah, lap 1 safety car here. We've got the Mercedes safety car, which we'll be seeing a lot more next season, with Aston Martin, their deal running out for the safety car. So we'll probably just be seeing the Mercedes all next season. But get your predictions in the chat. Who's going to win this race? Ansu with another decent qualifying, but again, lap 1 dramas cost the Red Bull driver here again, and it is a heartbreaking reality for the Red Bull driver, who is yet to get a really strong result this season. He's qualified well in the last 2 rounds, but again, running into more drama at turn 1. We'll have to see what the stewards say after the race at what happened there. It just seemed like he ghosted through a couple of cars and then unghosted as he was caught in the rear by someone, but it was quite hard to tell what was happening there. But hopefully the safety car doesn't stay out too long. Everyone's caught up to the pack, so hopefully it should be in this lap, but it might give us another lap of safety car. And in the event it does, we can have a little chat with the Twitch chat. As Ollie Bean says, I'd bet on James statistically. James always pulls it out of the bag. So, yeah, James is not qualified on pole once this season, but has won 5 times. That tells you all you need to know. Consistency matters here in WHF, and that's why as Ashton has left the track there. That's a bit strange. Maybe Ashton letting through RJ maybe made a mistake or something. Not quite sure. But, yeah, James has shown this season why consistency matters, and he's not far away from being crowned Tier 3 champion. He needs Raheem to essentially stay where he is. James just needs to finish ahead of Raheem, and that's the championship done and dusted. If Raheem does finish ahead of James, it's going to need to be by a couple positions, and we'll have to do the calculations after the race of where Raheem ends up, but it's all looking like it could be James's championship here in Tier 3 in the third final round, and he'll be the first WHF driver to be crowned as champion this season. Tier 2 and Tier 1 yet to be undecided, and DZ Racer has spun under the safety car. Oh my lord. Heartbreak for DZ Racer, not quite sure what he was thinking. And it's damage for DZ Racer. Left end plate going on the V-Carbon. Not only is that embarrassing to do that while leading under safety car, but not only that, he's going to have to get that front wing fixed potentially, which is going to lose him in even more time. And I do believe the safety car will be in this lap, and there we have it. The message is there, and DZ Racer, the timing on that spin is just terrible because he can't even box now because he'll lose a heap of time. But heartbreak for DZ Racer. This has given few the opportunity. It's gifted James a position here. He's got 3 positions, and you'd have to say all 3 positions have been pretty much a gift so far at the start of this race. But few now looking for his first win in WHF, I believe, although I'll double check that. I'm not quite sure if he has a win. Maybe he does. Yeah, few still waiting for his first win. Had a pole position last time out in Australia, but yet to get a win on the board. And now he's looking to drop the hammer and escape down the road from James. But James still not too far behind. Majin now promoted to P3 on those hard tyres, so we'll keep an eye on him. Potentially doing the reverse strategy is Nuki Lad looking on the inside of Sci-Fi Mega Hype as they go side by side through turn 1. And Sci-Fi still keeping it ahead of Nuki Lad. In the background we've got Raheem battling with Adobo as Raheem getting through on Page. Page had made it up to P10 at the start of this race, but now drops behind Raheem as Dobo in behind Page now. And we've got Ash in behind, who lost a heap of positions on lap 1. He's going to look to recover here as Page battling with Dobo. Dobo on the outside, looking to poke a nose in, but backs out there. As through the midfield we go as Ansu has left the session, and a heartbreaking start to the race for Ansu as Ash now going to dive it on the inside of the Red Bull. Dobo goes very deep to leave the room there as Sci-Fi's left the session, as we'll try and get Sci-Fi back in again, and we'll keep an eye on Dobo and Ash as they go in a battle down to turn 12. We'll watch this battle and then we'll try and get Sci-Fi an invite after we see what happens here. As RJ very late on the brakes, goes super deep. As DZ Racer also involved here. Ash for some reason is ghosted, not quite sure. As a little bit of contact with RJ. And Ash still battling through the middle sector here as Ash dives on the inside of Page. Catches Page unawares, and a lovely move from Ash. As in behind now, DZ Racer on the inside of the Ferrari gets through into P13 as we'll try and get Sci-Fi an invite as the Ferrari and DZ Racer go side by side. And RJ still there. DZ Racer leaves the track and RJ gets through. So we'll now try and finally get the Sci-Fi Mega Oh, that's another spin from DZ Racer, and Heartbreak yet again just seems to be cooking the rears here. As Sci-Fi is one of the last drivers in the friends list, so it takes a while to get him invited, but DZ Racer having Heartbreak start to this race. Meanwhile, MB and Majin have swapped positions, but importantly, the gap now 3 seconds to James, so a massive gap is formed here. Meanwhile, Raheem now trying to get ahead of Sci-Fi, who needs to rejoin, but has lagged out, has the South African, as Raheem gets ahead now, and may have some DRS from Northey as well to try and get a move going here. Majin as Dobo getting through on Sci-Fi as well. And a couple of drivers getting through on Sci-Fi as we wait for Sci-Fi to rejoin, but Majin now trying to close to the rear of MB, but not close enough to making a move on the Haas, as the Haas pairing. The reserve drivers having a strong enough drive yet again here as Ashton gets ahead of Page. And Ashton, not the ideal race so far for Ashton, down in P13. Meanwhile, in the background, Dobo and Ash battle. RJ gets through on Sci-Fi. And can Ash get through on Dobo? But we're here on lap 6, and this race has gone quicker than I thought initially, as that safety car has saved some of the racing, but it still seems like this race is going along rightly. The gap is now 4 seconds to MB, as James still following along Few. Looking to manage these mediums as Few, I'm sure, wants to try and escape from the Ferrari, but the Ferrari always there, as he has been all season. Just the consistency from the Ferrari has been unmatched this season, as Ash picks up a 3-second time penalty through Sector 1 as he tries to follow Dobo. Meanwhile, James on the rear of Few. Does he have the battery to try and chase after the Aston Martin driver down into turn 12? He seems to be gaining, but is it going to be enough to go for a send? I don't think he's close enough to go for a send on the Aston Martin driver, just keeping Few looking in his mirrors, as Majin doing the same with MB, but they continue to fall back off the pack as Raheem now battling Northey, and Raheem round the outside of the Williams as Ash ahead of Dobo. And Dobo trying to stick with Ash as Sci-Fi losing out to Ashton as he's just rejoined the lobby now, so hopefully he can get control of his car, but he's down to P13. Lost a heap of positions because of that disconnect. Meanwhile, Majin on these hard tyres, I'm sure will want to get ahead of the medium runners as soon as possible in order to make his hard stint work. Now, I'm unsure whether the driver's going to try a 1-stop or a 2-stop this race. I think both are viable here in Kota, but we'll wait and see what ends up being the quicker strategy. Majin on the hard tyres has been pressuring MB so far. As Sci-Fi says, it looked like he was still connected, but it was actually disconnected, as Northey losing out to Ash now through the exit of turn 2. And Northey now going to try and stay with Ash, but makes a big mistake now. Dobo seeing Northey make mistakes left, right and centre, and a lovely switchback from Dobo. And Northey may need to get some new socks after that one. He's been absolutely switched back out of his socks. And hopefully he got a new pair for Christmas, because he's going to need them. Sci-Fi getting through an Ashton. DZ Racer as well ahead of Ashton. As Ansu says, weird start of the season for me. I definitely didn't want to do a Russell cosplay. And in the end, he ended up doing pretty much accurate recreation of what Russell did to Saints. As DZ Racer on the rear of Sci-Fi. As Ollie B in the chat says, another overtake to go in the overtake the season chat. That one smoked him, absolutely. Although I'm sure Northey won't be too happy seeing his own son posting that clip in the Discord. But I'm sure it will be submitted because that was one of the tastiest overtakes we've seen in Tier 3 all season from Dobo, now up to P9 as he looks to chase after Ash. Meanwhile, NM Extremes continuing to follow Few in the battle for the lead. The Ferrari chasing the Aston Martin. And unfortunately, this is not the battle for the title. Few is only reserved a couple of times, but Few's definitely been a challenger this whole season. And can Few finally get his first win here in WHF, or will James be able to catch him? With James going wide there, exiting turn 11 as Dobo picks up his first 3-second time penalty of the day. But James now looking to stay with the Aston Martin driver. And Few defending well so far, but how much longer can he defend for? Is it just a matter of time before James can catch the Aston Martin driver here? Meanwhile, DZ Racer on the inside of Sci-Fi Mega Hype at the hairpin of turn 12. Side by side they still go. Sci-Fi still trying to keep his nose in ahead of the V-Carb as DZ Racer just doesn't have the front downforce with his missing front wing input. If I were DZ Racer, I would commit to getting his front wing fixed. Either wants a one stop or two stop. I think at this point he's got to try and extend for the one stop. It looks like a lot of drivers extend for the one stop. We're not seeing anyone come in on lap 8 is normally when you would try and two stop, although that early safety car may have changed a lot of the two stoppers' minds, and it probably is more of a one stop race now because of that early safety car on lap 1. Meanwhile, James seems to be getting crossed up a little bit through sector 1, allowing Few to build somewhat of a gap. But can James stick with DRS range here, or will Few pull a gap? No, it seems like James still inside that DRS range from Few. As Few now trying to dump the battery again down in the charge down to turn 12 to defend from the Ferrari, as the Ferrari always looming on the rear of the Aston Martin, but yet to go for any substantial moves. Hasn't really fainted at any moves. Meanwhile, DZ Racer on the rear of Sci-Fi trying to get the exit out of turn 11. And with DRS engaged, can he try and get ahead? Meanwhile, Lil Majin not too far behind MB. Nuki Lad's actually dropped off this pack as well as Nuki Lad. We go on board with him. And the rear was spinning on the Haas drivers. He's struggling with the rear temperatures. And surely this is now the opportunity for Majin to get ahead of MB. The hard tires got to be outperforming the mediums at this stage. And surely Majin now up into turn 1 can finally go for a move on MB, but MB looks to be keeping a decent gap into the braking zone when battling with Majin. And the Mercedes still following along. Meanwhile, is NM Extremes faltering through sector 1? The S's, can Few pull a gap to NM Extremes and potentially Few try and get his first win in WHF? I think Few now has escaped DRS range from James, so James now has to give all his pace that he has in hand to try and stay with the Aston Martin driver, who has pulled a momentary gap. No DRS for the Ferrari, so got to use some of his talent, as we know he has, as Majin now on the rear of MB here on lap 10, and surely it's a slam dunk move for the Mercedes, as it's a yellow flag out for Page, and Page around in sector 1. Heartbreak for Page, who been struggling this race so far. Meanwhile, Northey continuing to follow Dobo and doing a very strong race. Is Northey just following Dobo, as NMX James looks like he's firmly back inside DRS range from Few, so even though Few was able to momentarily pull a gap, looks like it hasn't lasted, as Lil Majin picks up a 3-second time penalty, and that's not going to help him in his potential battle for victory. He's going to go for the reverse strategy, but that 3-second time penalty is going to cost him, so I think he's going to go very long in the hards, as that's Creamy flaps into the box off the medium tyres here. The Aston Martin driver, the quickest driver to bite onto the hard tyres. I think he can go to the end, but it'll be a little bit of a stretch. Around lap 12 onward. Excuse me. Is normally when you want to go. And with that safety car, you can even push it probably at lap 13 or 14 before boxing onto the hard tyres. As RJ picking up a 3-second time penalty, and Few now looks to be pulling the gap again through Sector 1 on NMX James. Sci-Fi now good luck to stay with RJ as Creamy Flaps and DZ Racer into the box for hard tyres. Does the DZ Racer get his front wing end plate fixed? He does. I think this is the opportunity now for DZ Racer to claw back what he's lost so far in this race, as MB still sticking on the rear of Lil Majin, and I think staying out to lap 13 at least is the right move, because then you can go hard to the end quite comfortably. That early safety car would have certainly helped a lot of drivers manage their first stint a little bit better, as Sci-Fi does get ahead of RJ. And Creamy Flaps ahead of Ashton, who is yet to box in this race, but not been the ideal outing for Ashton so far. MB continuing to follow Lil Majin as Nuki, the first driver to pull the pin out of these two asses into the box. Lap 12, I would say, is a decent lap to go on, although if you're on the mediums, you kind of want to extend them a little bit more, seeing as we did that early safety car. That would have already helped them extend a little bit longer, so if you can make it to lap 13, as so many out there already have, they should be able to do hards to the end. It's just a question of what Lil Majin and Raheem do now. What do they end up doing? As MB still on the rear of Majin, the DRS has been a big help to the Haas's race here. He's able to coast along in behind the Mercedes and manage his current stint before he may go on to a set of hards. But MB still following Majin here. But will we see the Haas driver into the box, as it looks like the hards surely have to be pulling a gap as the rear stepping out on MB, and I think that's the ideal time to box now. Rear's overheating on the mediums, and surely that is DRS gone now for MB, as he is going to look to come in the pit lane. I think he's timed that perfectly. The Haas driver into the pit lane and in for hard tyres now to go to the end along with his teammate Nuki Lad. And I think MB is in a strong position to potentially pick up his first podium here in WHF. Meanwhile, the battle for the lead between Few and James, the gap is at 1.8 tenths as RJ picks up a time penalty here. And go down here to Nuki Lad, who's now on the rear of RJ. Meanwhile, MB exits just ahead of Dubbo, got 7 seconds of clear air up ahead of him, and that should help MB on his stint. Meanwhile, Nuki stuck behind some traffic through Sector 1, which may hurt him a little bit on his strategy. But will this be a hindrance, or will the DRS help us? Oh, but a little bit of contact between the Haas and RJ as RJ trying to get it rotated and made a little mistake there, and now Nuki Lad down the inside of turn 11, and surely will have DRS as DZ Racer picking up a time penalty as he exits behind Sci-Fi, and that's not going to help DZ Racer, as Nuki Lad does have DRS to defend from RJ, as DZ Racer now 3-second time penalty certainly not going to help him in this race. But following Sci-Fi Mega Hype here, as both Few and NMX James come into the box for their one and only pit stop, as DZ Racer now in ahead of Sci-Fi Mega Hype and makes that move stick. Can he use the pace that we know he has? The pace that got him on pole position. We will wait and see, as Few now will appear out of the box in a lot of clear air, but they appear behind Raheem, so I wonder will Raheem do anything to try and hold up James to help his strategy, although Raheem needs to finish ahead of James here if he wants to keep the championship title going into next round. As Ash now exiting in behind Creamy Flaps. But Few now with a lovely little bit of clear air to use and chase down the road after Raheem before James starts to catch the rear of Raheem and Illumagen as well. But here on lap 14, we've had a little bit of a lull in the race as Northig picks up his first time penalty of the day. And we're yet to see the hard runners box on to the medium tyres as Dobo still out there on the mediums. I'm expecting we'll see him into the hards on this lap as the rear's really overheating on that Red Bull. You can see the rear absolutely sliding everywhere, struggling to get the rear wheels planted into the tarmac so that he can go, but certainly now it's got to be the lap for Dobo to come in for hard tyres. As the rear stepping out on the Red Bull, and as he rounds the pit entry, surely this is going to be the time Dobo comes in and puts on a set of hard tyres to go to the end here. Meanwhile, DZ Racer on the rear of Northy and trying to reclaim a lot of what was lost. They should emerge ahead of Dobo, who may exit behind Sci-Fi Mega Hype here, as Dobo coming out of the pit lane into turn 1. Just ahead of Sci-Fi. Sci-Fi though looking for the switchback as Dobo out of the pit lane, struggling to get some temperature on those hard tyres. Still side by side they go, and into turn 3, still side by side, and Dobo has to concede the position as Sci-Fi gets through into P11. But Dobo going to feel a bit perturbed by that incident, but meanwhile Few now on the rear of Raheem, and will Raheem hold up Few at all? If I were Raheem, I would let Few go, and more worried about trying to make James or trying to force James into a mistake as Ash and Creamy Flaps now battle through turn 12 and through 13. A switchback is on the cards for Ash. Can he hold it together as Creamy Flaps still trying to defend the inside, as Ash now looking for another switchback, but Creamy Flaps trying to park it on the apex. But Smoke and Ash, a lovely move, a lovely switchback. Can he nail it? Creamy Flaps though, lovely defense though. And the Aston Martin driver stays ahead of the Mercedes in beautiful defence as Few gets ahead of Raheem into turn 1. Now Raheem, the driver he's most worried about has got to be NMX James, who is his championship rival. And NMX James will be going to the end on the hard tyres, so Raheem's going to do something out of the ordinary and hope this race goes his way, maybe. If Raheem extends to lap 28 and then there's a safety car as Northy goes very deep when battling with DZ Racer, and DZ Racer stays ahead, Sci-Fi ahead of Dobo now, as Dobo still trying to find a way ahead of the Alpine. Meanwhile, Ash on the rear of Creamy Flaps. Ash got the much fresher tyres but does have penalties as well. Look at the penalties. 6 for Ash, 3 for everyone else, and then 12 for RJ. RJ appears to be struggling the most out there as Ash now going to pick the outside of Creamy Flaps. Side by side they go into turn 12 as a switchback on the cards for Ash. Creamy Flaps tried to defend as best he can. Ash now round the outside. Oh, big contact. And as Zampa played the Thug Life, Creamy Flaps has let through Ash after having contact with the Mercedes. I think Creamy Flaps admitting his mistake there. But Creamy Flaps up in P8 having a strong race, but a little bit of contact with Ash and has decided to let him go. Meanwhile, the two championship rivals have come together on track. It's probably not in the way that Raheem would have wanted, but maybe he can force James into a mistake here. Either way, he could cause James another mistake, which would maybe help Raheem's pride, but Raheem, I don't really know what he can do to halt the charge of James in winning his first WHL title here. But we'll see how much Raheem defends this position. But you can see how much grip James has as he gets right up to the gearbox, exiting turn 11, and DRS will be enabled. Will Raheem fight this hard? It is kind of a question. We haven't seen them come together too much this season, as Raheem is going to try and defend here. James, though, back down the inside, side by side into turn 12. James cleanly down the inside. And Raheem now, I think that's all the defending he could have done on his championship rival. Raheem now, I'm sure, will box soon for mediums, maybe on lap 18. And go to the end and hope for a safety car. A safety car right now as North 8 losing out to Dobo and Sci-Fi Megahype as they battle down into turn 12, and Dobo files in behind the Alpine, trying to stick with it as Raheem picks up a 3-second time penalty. And that's going to hurt Raheem as he's going to try and get back on the rear of NMX James and make some sort of move, but not close enough to make a move on the Ferrari driver. But still wants to put pressure on the Ferrari despite it looking all for naught, as Dobo on the rear of Sci-Fi, but yet to see this move materialise. But Raheem unable to force a mistake out of James, so it looks like Raheem will be boxing this lap on the medium tyres to go to the end. But he'd ideally like a safety car right now to help him here, because otherwise it does seem like Raheem's championship fight, unfortunately, may be done here in the third final round of the season, as Sci-Fi picks up his first penalty of the day, battling with Dobo, as DZ Racer looking to recover following his spin under safety car. And another pole position for DZ Racer, but unable to convert after having a bit of a nightmare in the race, as Raheem making a mistake into turn 13, and that may allow NMX James now to clear off down the road, although at the very least Raheem has helped Few build a big gap, and now Few just needs to keep it on the track, avoid any penalties, and Few should have this in the bag. Only a safety car should cost Few here, or driver error, and I don't think Few is going to throw this one away, as Raheem now into the box, as MB will end up taking P3 as Majin looking to exit the box. But how big of an undercut will MB pull here as Majin exits the box in P4? Nuki Lad inherits P5 as Raheem still exiting the pit lane. Could Ash get ahead of the McLaren here? I think he has. I think it might be the Aston that comes out behind the McLaren here. And can Creamy Flaps get close to Raheem? No, it seems like Raheem now on those mediums will be flying. Majin going to try and close up to MB as RJ picks up another time penalty here in the Ferrari. But Lil Majin now looking to close on MB as RJ battling with Ashton through turn 1. Maybe a little bit of contact between RJ and Ashton, and the stewards may have a look at that one after the race, as Majin now on medium tyres. Can he catch MB on those 6-lap-old hards? Meanwhile, Raheem not too far away from Ash. Looks like this move could be on the horizon as Dobo trying to get the exit out of turn 11, as the rear stepping out a little bit on the Red Bull, as we see Northy in the foreground making a little mistake out of turn 11, as Dobo still trying to catch Sci-Fi Mega, but not close enough to making the move. As Dobo right into the rear and almost sniffing the rear. Dobo sniffing the rear of the Alpine as Ash now in a bit of no man's land as he tries to catch RJ after their little bit of a squabble. Meanwhile, Raheem on the rear of Smoke and Ash, and this has got to be made as soon as possible if Raheem wants to try and catch James here, but realistically he needs a big mistake from James in order to throw this away now. As the McLaren on the rear of Ash. And Ash, always a very consistent driver, so going to be a tricky man for Raheem to overtake. As Dobo picks up another time penalty, but can Raheem now get through on the Mercedes? As Majin almost catching MB. Yellow flag around its creamy flaps into the wall. Big damage for the Aston Martin driver. And heartbreak for the Aston Martin driver there. As Raheem all over the rear of Ash. Raheem on the outside with DRS going to surely comfortably get ahead of the Mercedes driver. Meanwhile, it's Majin on the rear of MB. And Majin has got to get ahead of MB as quickly as possible and disappear down the road because he does have that 3-second time penalty. He's got to build that threshold as soon as possible, so maybe Majin may look for the move down into turn 1 if he can maximise his exit out of the final corner. And out of the final corner, gets a decent exit. Can he burn the battery on the Haas driver and go for the move into turn 1? Is he close enough to go for the move? Looks round the outside of the Haas. Maybe can get a switch back on the better medium tyres as he looks to really put pressure on the Haas, but MB holding on to the position, defending well here, and the longer this battle goes on, the more it benefits MB, the more their pace will come closer together. Majin's mediums will start to overheat more as Creamy Flaps losing out now to Sci-Fi Mega Hype, as there's a little bit of drama here exiting the final corner as Creamy Flaps now staying out with that wing damage. Both M plates missing on the Aston Martin now as Majin now on the rear of MB and surely going to get this move done and dusted into turn 12. It's just a matter, does Majin have the pace and clear air to build a gap to MB to pick up another consecutive podium for Majin, as MB going to look to try and stay with the Mercedes as best he can, as Dobo, I'm not quite sure what happened there, maybe RJ losing out to Ashton. And RJ and Ashton been battling ferociously here, but Ashton with that, without any time penalties, Ashton should win this battle in the end, you would think, as Majin's already pulled a gap to MB outside the penalty threshold, and Majin could be even sniffing at a P2. It's just that 3-second time penalty that you would really doubt Majin finishing P2 here, but he's quick on the mediums out there and could potentially make this move very shortly on James, as RJ now has dropped out of DRS range with Dobo battling with Creamy Flaps, as Creamy Flaps keeping this together, as Dobo now on the outside of the Aston Martin as we head through turns 15, 16, 17 and 18, and Dobo all over the rear of the Aston Martin driver, who is missing both M plates here, and can the Red Bull take advantage of the Aston Martin here, as Dobo has a little bit of a swapper on exiting the final corner, but now with DRS surely going to get ahead of Creamy Flaps, and now into P10 goes Dobo, as Creamy Flaps now down to P11, doesn't have any time penalties but does have damage, which is going to cost them big in this race. And both end plates missing on that Aston Martin, surely going to cost them here. Meanwhile, I believe Page is letting someone through. I don't know if Northie was making a mistake there. I think it was just Page letting people through, which is what I seen there, as MB now falling further and further and back, and Majin closing closer and closer to James. It's just a shame he doesn't have if he didn't have that time penalty, we could realistically be really excited for a potential P2 on the cards here, but he's going to somehow catch James, get ahead and pull a gap, which I think he'll already struggle to pull a gap on MB here, but does Majin have DRS there from Page? Yes he does, and that's going to help Majin a little bit more. The bit of DRS down the main straight, that's going to help him in his charge after the Ferrari driver And you never know, Raheem is in P6. NMX James could DNF at any point, and that could help Raheem extend this championship battle to the next round. As next time out, Tier 3 for the penultimate round of the season are going to head to, if I can find the calendar, Bahrain, followed by Qatar. But MB continues to follow further and further back as Majin in P3. Looking to catch the Ferrari of NMX James, and he's got to catch him as quickly as possible so that he can try and make the move. But as time progresses, the mediums get progressively worse at an increased rate to the hard tyres. And despite the hard tyres being 5 lap older, I would say by the time they have a 3 lap difference, that is the advantage completely gone. So imagine, I'd say in the next 2 laps, has to have this move done and dusted on James. He's now inside 2 seconds marginally. And I think he needs to get inside DRS range on this lap and make the move on the following lap in order to try and even consider P2. But he has strong pace here. If he can even get inside DRS range, he can pull a gap to MB and maybe think about another podium for the Mercedes driver. What has happened, Raheem? The McLaren driver makes a mistake at turn 1, and Raheem, who already needed a lot to go his way in this championship battle, makes a mistake at turn 1. He's fallen off the back of Nuki Lad, and now almost into the clutches of the Mercedes driver of Ash, and Raheem now needs an absolute miracle if he wants the championship to be extended and go to another race. It looks like the Ferrari driver of NMX James may have the championship done and dusted here in round 10. As Dobo now following along Sci-Fi Mega Hype. Can the Red Bull driver get ahead of Sci-Fi? We'll have to wait and see. Dobo in the championship is up there in P5. He led the championship in the opening round of the season and the second round of the season, but wasn't able to keep it going as Dobo tapping the rear of Sci-Fi. And meanwhile, Creamy Flaps battling with Northy. Northy on the inside of Creamy Flaps and gets ahead of the Aston Martin driver. And this damage from the Aston Martin is just costing him further and further as Northy now into P11, getting ahead of the Aston Martin. But here on lap 25 of 28, Dobo still chasing after Sci-Fi, yet to make this move stick. Meanwhile, MB back into the clutches of Majin. Majin seems to have made a mistake that's lost him around 8/10 here, as he was pushing hard to try and catch James, but maybe overheated those mediums now. And MB looking like the first podium in his WHF career is on the cards. Unless he did get a podium in Mexico, but I'm not quite sure. I think Nuki did get the podium, but let me double check that. Or maybe it was a P4 and P5 in Mexico, I believe. But can MB continue to catch? Dobo still on the rear of Sci-Fi. Can Dobo get the exit out of turn 11? DRS enabled, but the Alpine looks to have too much straight line speed on Dobo as things stand. But here on lap 26 is MB, almost in touching distance from Lil Majin. It looks like either way, the podium may go the way of MB. And it may be a matter of time before MB has DRS range for Majin again here. Meanwhile, Few didn't start the race from pole, but was essentially gifted P1 following the safety car, and since then Few has been able to pull the gap from James and just show who has been the quicker driver on the day. As Ash picks up another penalty, MB now inside DRS range from Majin. As Nuki Lad almost back inside DRS range from Nuki Lad, so things are starting to swing back in his favour, although still a lot would need to go Raheem's way. He would need to get ahead of Nuki Lad, which I think is the best he could do, and pull a gap, which is going to be hard enough to do, and then hope James makes some sort of mind-boggling mistake that we've not really seen from James all season. He's really been faultless all season. Even in the race where he finished off the podium, he didn't really make any mistakes. It was more just Hungary was not his track on the day. But this P2 for James may be his favourite one of the season, giving that it might be a championship crowning one. MB now on the rear of Majin. Into the hairpin we go. Turn 11, can MB get the exit on the Mercedes driver? And with DRS engaged, as Page picking up a 3-second time penalty. MB now down the inside of Majin, side by side they go. Majin going to try and outbrake the Haas drivers. They still battle through the middle sector here. And MB gonna have to wait another lap to try and get this move done. And as we start the final lap, Few rounding the final corner to start the final lap. The battle for the podium still ranges on, but it looks like P1 and P2 is all wrapped up. Meanwhile, Raheem on the rear of Nuki Lad trying to put some pressure on Nuki Lad as he tries to desperately hold on to P5. MB now into turn 1 on Majin, side by side they go through turn 1. Can MB get round the outside? Majin on the inside, can he find the traction as we don't get the best of camera angles, but MB side by side we go through turn 1 and 2. Majin goes a little wide and MB round the outside. Majin dances round the outside again, and Majin somehow holding on to the position. A lovely move there from Majin to get back ahead. But I think it might be all for naught with that 3-second time penalty from Majin. As down the inside, MB will go and surely have DRS to make this move stick as Lil Majin tries to stick it around the outside. But I'm not sure Majin knows where the detection point is, as MB will still have it here. And now with DRS, can MB finally get this move done and dusted as Majin's going to desperately try to hold on, but just does not have the straight line speed, and there you have it. That is going to be it for the day. It seems as Dobo and Sci-Fi continue to battle through Sector 1, but we're going to move up to the front, and it's Few's day here in WHF Tier 3 Round 10. Didn't get pole. Got pole last time out, was unable to convert, but finally now, the Aston Martin driver, for the first time in WHF, will be able to call himself a winner as he rounds the final corner and wins in Texas. Meanwhile, LMX James will round the final corner, and for the first time, he'll call himself Tier 3 champion as James finishes P2 and does enough to finish ahead of Raheem and win the championship for himself as MB finishes ahead of Majin. Nuki Lad in P5 as Raheem will chase after the Haas driver, but it's all for naught. The championship is done and dusted, and James is your Tier 3 champion. Raheem fought well here to round 10, finishes P6 in the end as Ash in P7. DZ Racer did well to recover to P8, despite how awful his race went. DZ Racer, another 3-second time penalty. Will that lose him a position here? We'll see, as DZ Racer rounding the final corner in P8. Finishes ahead of Sci-Fi and Dobo. Meanwhile, Northy trying to finish ahead of Creamy Flaps. But does Northy have too many pounds? We will see. As Northy crosses the line. And Creamy Flaps does jump him into P11. And it seemed Northy had 6 seconds of penalties here. As Ashton in P13. Another points finish for the Sauber, as RJ will finish in P14. Page already finished a lap down and will wrap up the podium here. But there you have it. NMX James has won the championship here in WHF Tier 3. We'll try and get the standings loaded if they do load. I'm not quite sure if they have. But Few gets his first win here in WHF. Ahead of James, who gets his first championship in WHF, wins Tier 3 ahead of Raheem. Meanwhile, MB finishes on the podium, which is for, I believe, the first time this season, as we'll try and get all the results in. The driver of the day was Raheem, but unfortunately unable to fight his way back ahead of James. Did try and make it uncomfortable for James, but James was able to make the move relatively easy. But we'll get the race director in just so if the stewards need it after the race. But we'll start the interviews with MB. And MB, I believe that might have been your first podium of the season. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I've nearly had one in Brazil before I spun in my second stint. So, well, I'm really happy. I never thought I would get one here, since Lil Margin seemed to be too fast for myself. But first, with his 3-second time penalty, I just thought, yeah, stay behind. And in the end, his mediums fell off, and I just could overtake him in the last lap.
Yeah, and even that penalty, I'm sure that would have made things a lot more comfortable for yourself, because I'm sure you knew it was in the bag. But was there any stressful moment, even when he did overtake you and he was pulling a gap on the mediums? Did you think it might be gone?
Yeah, I actually did, since he was like 2 seconds per lap quicker as he switched onto the mediums. And I just thought, damn, I don't get him to hold him off long. So I just thought, let's get P4 to the end of the race. But yeah, it changed much. I'm happy about it, but I wasn't expecting that, to be honest.
Well, it's great to see, and I'm glad to see you on your first podium here in WHF, and hopefully here's to more for the final 2 rounds of the season. And we'll move on to Few, who picked up his first win of the season. Few, we knew for a while you've been trying to get that win, and you finally get the monkey off your back. How'd that one feel?
Oh, I felt good, man. It was about time. Back to business.
Yeah, we did see you battling with James there. James was holding on for a good while, but in the end you were eventually able to pull that gap. Did it come as you expected?
Yeah, pretty much. I know this track inside out. It seems to be one of my stronger tracks. Done a lot of laps around here, so I know how the tyres work. It's just got to get that set up right with obviously the updates and stuff, the setups. A little bit of tweaking here and there, but yeah, I just... Bit of a tyre whisperer around here.
Well, you tyre whisperer you were. We seen you do comfortable medium to hard stint. You managed that stint well, and in the end pick up your first WHF win, and hopefully here's to more as we head into Bahrain for the next round of the season. But we will move on to the man of the hour, who didn't win the race, but in the end did finish P2, and that was all NMX James needed to become champion here in Tier 3. James, how does that feel?
Oh, geez, that feels amazing, to be honest. Ever since I joined this league, it's been race after race and battles after battles. In the end, in this final race, I was trying not to get a warning. I had 2 fucking warnings, so I was trying not to get a third. Then I finished P2, so I'm happy with that.
We did see you holding on to the rear few, but in the end, did he just have too much pace in the end?
The thing is, I fucked up the S section a few times and it messed everything up for me. So I was trying not get. I got 2 warnings because of it. So that's why I was trying not to get a third.
Well, congrats to you, James. Even though you didn't win the race, in a sense, you didn't win the battle, but you did win the war here in round 10, and is the first Tier 3 champion we've actually seen in quite a while here. It's been a while since we've had a Tier 3 championship going in WHF, and I think the last Tier 3 championship is back years and years ago with SSR. But you're the first Tier 3 champion, I believe, in WHF history. I'm not quite sure if that's correct, but I believe so.
Maybe next season, probably get another one.
We would like to see, as you move up to Tier 2, could you get back-to-back championship wins? We'll have to wait and see. But I'm sure we will... we'll wait and see. That as Rain in the chat says 50 grand fine for swearing, and I will happily take that fine, James, if you want to send me over your PayPal and send me the 50 grand for swearing in your...
Oh yeah, no bother. Get a loan from the bank.
I'm sure you have the money now. I'm sure you have the money now after the prize fund, but congrats to you, James. We'll find someone to raid on our way out. That has been essentially the Tier 3 championship decided. We still have 2 rounds to go in the championship, but nonetheless... Yeah, it's just the constructors to wrap up, which isn't wrapped up yet. I think it is still between you and Mercedes. Ferrari and Mercedes still battling here, separated by 39 points, and still a couple rounds, 2 rounds to go, which could really change as time progresses. But anyway, thank you all for watching. If you have enjoyed, I've been WHFR. We're here in round 10 in Texas. We're going to raid XRS on our way out. But thank you all for watching. Here has been round 10 Texas. Few has picked up his first win here in WHF. MB has picked up his first podium in WHF, but NMX James has picked up his first championship in WHF, which has been the main reason why we've turned up today. But congrats to James. But thank you all for watching. We'll see you all tomorrow for Tier 2, where there's still a championship battle going on between Quincy, Cody and Brahms, I believe, and even Lanky as well in the Mercedes, so make sure to stay tuned for that. And also Tier 1, Cookie potentially looking to wrap up his championship as well, so it's all happening here in round 10. But anyway, thank you all for watching. We'll see you tomorrow, where you'll be joined by Rio Harris in the commentary box, but we'll see you then, and ta-ra.